Welcome to me, where suspenseful, thrilling, and mysterious stories will draw you into a world where the lines between reality and fantasy seem to blur. When the night falls, when all the sounds gradually quiet down, leaving only your own heartbeat and breathing, that's when these stories begin. Tensions, unsolved mysteries, moments that will make you hold your breath in fear or curiosity, all are waiting for you ahead. Find a comfortable seat, dim the lights, and let this sound guide you on a journey that is not for the faint of heart. I want each of you to leave a comment sharing where you are in the world. And if you are enjoying the episodes, don't forget to give a like and subscribe to the channel now. Relax. Are you ready? If so, join me in the first story right now. They're coming. They're coming. The whispers carried by the wind. The repeat of words started yesterday morning, from the moment my bare feet touched the wooden planks of the wrapped-around porch. The corn swayed slowly. Anticipation, knowing they would soon pick up their speed. Sounds of the horses shifting around the fields, anxiety fueling them. They knew just as well as I did what was to come. The clouds in the distance were dense. The light around the house shined bright for now. The blanket of clouds would take that away. Soon, too soon. The pitter-patter of little feet sounded from behind me. A hand wrapping around my finger, giving a slight tug. Her bright blue eyes would be boring into me. Those beautiful eyes she adopted from her father. If only he was here, they wouldn't be coming. They would leave us be. They would keep their distance. They knew what the consequences were, but no contact, no letters, no information of where he was or when he would come home. Left us in the foreboding shadows. The war was bound to come. Unfortunately, we knew that. The day the papers came, he looked at me. The look of knowing all too well. He would be called upon, leaving us to fend for ourselves, while he went God knows where, to defend the great land we call home. The last letter received was over a month ago now. We sent one in return within the week. Concerns the officers would come bringing devastating news filled the house, weighing the air down. Another tug released me from my trance. I looked down, mustering a smile as best I could. Guiding her back into the house, setting her up in the chair for breakfast. Eggs, toast, and fresh bacon from one of the sows lay in front of her. Coffee was the choice for me. Hunger was gone. I felt nothing of the sorts. Thirst controlled me. Coffee, water, and milk satisfied me for the time being. A bang sounded outside. My eyes snapped to see through the fogged window from grime. Something else to add to my list of things to do. The dust and dirt picking up from the fields created a layer. A goat was taking time to practice butting again, lining up to go again with one of the poles surrounding them. The clouds were closer. Too much to do before they would be here. Too little time. Another tug This time, my dress. I felt the hole in the side tear a little bit more. Another thing to fix around this place. I turned. Her shoes were on her feet, and mine were in her hands. The plate behind her was polished off, and the cup with remnants of milk sat beside it. Her head cocked to the side. A nod returned. Sliding my feet into my boots, we headed out to accomplish the never-ending tasks plaguing us. Night fell quickly, and the clouds were almost here. By morning, they would be on top of us. The sounds of the restless animals in the barn through the open window next to my bed. Creaks of the old house moving with the wind called out in various parts. The nerves, the knowing of what's coming, getting to me, all while she slept peacefully in her bed. No worries in the world, aside from making sure the animals were happy, and her father was okay. The adolescent hopes and dreams occupying her mind. Mine was screaming at me. Too many thoughts, too many fears, all flicking through, ready to explode out. The hope of tea helping the pain and pressure, all while it did nothing at all. It usually did not, but I lived by it as my mother had too. Lessons she taught me, guided me quite frequently. That being just one of them. They're coming. I shuddered with the wind as it brought that news. Constant reminders. I wanted to scream out. I know all too well. Instead, I stayed quiet, fighting to go to sleep to earn some peace. Peace would not come, however. My dreams would be filled with thoughts of them coming. My husband, my child not getting everything they need. The idea of peace is just that. An idea, a hope. There was none for me. The sounds were pounding by the time my eyes opened. Light barely came through the windows. The clouds were here, and so was the shadow. My feet pounded, carrying me out onto the porch. The corn stalks now looked like they were laying down, the wind rearing its ugly face. They're coming, they're coming, they're coming. The words pounded into me. My eyes watered, dirt flying into them. I felt my way to the sink, rinsing them out as best I could. Turning, she was behind me again, head cocked to the side. Quickly fixing oatmeal, she ate while I worried. Opting to give her time off today, I set her up with her favorite things in the living room. Not before getting her dressed in her Sunday best. No hair out of place, and a bow matching her shoes. The wind howled outside. They're coming, quickly. I needed to get everything done, quickly. Forgetting my shoes, I headed to the barn, multitasking, not without dropping things. The grime now covered me, just as it did the windows. Hurry. You must hurry. Stepping out of the barn, a cloud of dust was nearing. Pounding of horseshoes coming down the way, carried with the wind, just as the words did. They're coming. Minutes, a matter of minutes, and they would be here. The dust rounded the drive at the far end of the field. My feet ran me into the house and to the bathroom. Grabbing a cloth, I wet it down and scrubbed at my flesh. The grime coming off, slowly it felt. I was running out of time. Finally, getting the last mark off, I put my Sunday best on, running my fingers through my hair. Standing in the doorway, she was beside me, watching the cloud of dust get closer. They're coming. The wind howled again. They're coming. A pastor's burden. In a small hospital room, a visibly shaken woman sat slumped in a chair next to her daughter's bed, watching her chest rise and fall as oxygen moved from the tubes into her lungs. Dark circles framed her eyes, which were heavy with exhaustion and worry. When she heard the news announcement, she looked at the small TV screen and raised the volume quickly. Tonight, a local pastor is in custody after turning himself in for a hit and run of 13-year-old girl Emma Campbell that occurred only a week ago. Emma was reported missing by her family before she was found at Mercy Hospital as a Jane Doe almost a day later. Emma is currently in critical condition with injuries that include blood force trauma and spinal fractures. This all unfolded this morning when 54-year-old David O'Reilly of the Church of God in Christ reportedly turned himself in and admitted to hitting her and fleeing the scene. According to the church, O'Reilly has served as a priest in the Church of God in Christ of White County since 2002 and has even presided over this past Sunday's Mass. Interestingly, the church caught on fire Monday morning after it ignited in a building nearby. Luckily, no one was injured. However, a few people were transported to a local hospital for smoke inhalation. The police have told us that this remains an ongoing investigation. Meanwhile, the community and friends of the Campbell family are holding a vigil. Emma's mother told us, "I am just terrified. I want Emma back. I don't care about anything else." Reporting live from Mercy Hospital, this is Angelica Sanchez, CBS News, as the woman watched. She sobbed quietly while clasping her daughter's hand, her other arm wrapped protectively around herself, as if trying to shield them both from some hidden danger. She was still shocked at the whirlwind of events that rocked her family for the past few days. God was punishing her, she thought. Not very far away, 2 police detectives walked into a room where David O'Reilly sat, his head hunched over in a metal chair and his hands clasped tightly. One of the detectives cleared his throat as they sat opposite him, while the other shuffled papers as if he had not just gone over every paper before coming in. "Mr. O'Reilly, I am Detective Jameson, and this is Detective Phillips. Do you need anything before we start? Coffee? or some water?" David shook his head, which prompted Detective Phillips to begin. "All right, Mr. O'Reilly, walk me through what happened last Thursday." David sighed and shook his head before speaking slowly. "Like I told Officer Jones, I was heading home on Eli Road. I had a lot on my mind and didn't see the poor girl. I slammed on my brake immediately. I ran out of the car, and she was lying there, and blood was everywhere. I panicked. I did not know what to do. I do not carry a cell phone. I cried for help, but no one was around. I thought I could take her to a hospital, but I know you are not supposed to move people. And also, I recently had back surgery, so I was not sure if I could. I went back into my toe, and I had all the intention of going to the nearest station, but I don't know what happened. The devil is a powerful enemy. I got scared. The devil. I see. Where were you coming from?" "I drive to a local donation center now and then to buy books for the children in my parish." "Right. We called after your initial statement, and while everyone knew who you were, no one could confirm you were there last Thursday." "Yes, I realized that I forgot my wallet at home and just turned around and did not make it there." "I see. And what happened when you returned home?" "I parked the car. My wife was helping my oldest son, Adam, with homework, and the other two were playing in their room. Deacon Cowley came over, and we discussed Sunday's sermon. When he left, I put Faith and Jacob to bed and showered. After Adam went to bed, I told my wife what happened. Help me understand this. You are a man of God. You teach His word. You know right from wrong and good from evil. Yet you hit an innocent young girl and you walk away? How so?" "I don't know, Detective. As I said, the devil is powerful. He feeds on our weaknesses. I thought I was going to lose my family. I got scared and spare me the spiritual nonsense. Did you know Ms. Campbell before?" Detective Phillips interjected. Clearly, he played the bad cop. "What?" "No. I mean, I don't know. As far as I know, we don't have a Campbell in our parish. But people come and go all the time." "Wait, why are you even asking?" "Several reasons, Pastor. Several reasons." They both stood up and prepared to leave the room. David looked at them and asked if he could know these reasons, but they shook their heads and opened the door to leave. David yelled as they walked out that it was an accident. As they walked through the precinct hallway, Detective Jameson asked, "What do you think?" "Too early, but something does not feel right. My gut tells me he is lying about something. Do we have any witnesses yet? Also, where is the wife? We need to talk to her. And how is the girl doing?" "No witnesses, and I believe she is in the hospital with her daughter. Faith is still in critical condition, and doctors are not optimistic." Elizabeth woke up to the beeping sound on Faith's monitors. A few seconds later, the nurse came in to check. After a few taps, the beeping sound stopped. The nurse mentioned that the IV will need to be changed soon. Elizabeth asked if there was any word from the pulmonologist they had been waiting for. The nurse shook her head and said she would send a message. Elizabeth asked why the doctor took so long to come to the hospital. The nurse said she did not know, but that he was currently unavailable. Before Elizabeth could protest, 2 detectives appeared at the door, and the nurse excused herself. "Mrs. O'Reilly, we are sorry to disturb you, and to come at such a difficult time. However, we have a few questions." Elizabeth's eyes flickered with apprehension before her guarded wariness took over. She stood up and walked with them outside of the room. "Mrs. O'Reilly, do you know what time your husband returned home last Thursday?" "I'm not sure. David usually meets with Deacon Cowley around 8 p.m. on Thursdays, so I am guessing before that time. Do you know where he was that day?" "I believe he went to the local donation center." "And when did he leave to go there?" "I can't say, as I was not home. I picked up the kids from school and dropped them off at my sister's." "And what time would you say that was?" "Probably around 4 p.m. when I was at my sister's house." "And where did you go?" "I sometimes help local businesses with their books, so I was at the local motel on Siesta Drive." "Eddie's place?" "Huh?" "Oh yes, Edward." "Mrs. O'Reilly, we talked to many folks, and they all mentioned how kind and thoughtful your husband is. Don't you think it is strange for him to leave a poor girl to die after he hit her with his car?" "Well, yes, of course, Detective." "Mrs. O'Reilly, Angela, has your husband ever hurt you or the children?" "What? No. David would never hurt." She paused. She wanted to say anything, but stopped. Tears filled her eyes as she tried to finish the sentence, but couldn't. "All right, Mrs. O'Reilly, that will do for now. We will be in touch." The detectives turned and left her standing in the hallway, like a house remaining after a tornado ripped everything around. After talking to the wife, Detective Phillips was more convinced that something was fishy. He told his partner they needed to step it up. By the time they returned to the precinct, they had camera footage from some businesses and the report from the fire department to review. Unfortunately, the footage wasn't helpful. The fire that destroyed the garage, which had the car involved in the accident, started with an outdated breaker box with worn connectors, which caused the system to overload and cause a fire. It was just a coincidence. Detective Phillips thought it a very convenient coincidence. He needed to try something else. "Mr. O'Reilly, you are a good pastor. Some of our officers know you and attend your mass. Some even say you are too good." So I did a little digging, and guess what I found? Since 2003, we have had 6 murders that have remained unsolved. All of them were within a 10-mile radius of your church. All of the victims were teenagers between the ages of 13 and 18. So, is there anything you want to tell us? This is ridiculous. I came here and confessed alone, without even being considered a suspect. I know I did something terrible, and God will be my judge. I am unsure what you are trying to prove here, but I have been cooperative, answered all your questions, and have nothing more to add. We appreciate your honesty, Mr. O'Reilly, but we are trying to do our job to ensure justice is served. Detective Jameson responded, I have done my best to help. And a knock on the door started David and interrupted him. Someone slightly opened the door, and both detectives left. Fear flashed across David's face before he put his face in his hands and prayed. The detectives walked quickly to their car to drive to Mercy Hospital. Emma gained her consciousness. The doctors refused to let them interview her, but after some negotiation, they settled on being able to talk to her for a minute. Emma confirmed the vehicle, but couldn't determine who was driving, as everything was still foggy. Her father and the doctor told the detectives that this was enough for now. Frustrated, they left without much progress. Back at St. John's Hospital, where Faith was still hooked up to an oxygen tank, her mother received word from the nurse that the pulmonologist was on his way and should be here any minute. The nurse then lowered her voice and whispered to her, I am not supposed to tell you, and I probably would get in trouble for it, but the specialist is Dr. Campbell. She paused for a second and looked at the mother, but it didn't seem to click, so she continued. You know he is the father of the poor girl who... You know. The room seemed to close around her as the weight of the revelation hit her. Guilt surged within her as her chest felt a sudden pressure that made it hard to breathe. The nurse helped her sit on a chair and brought a cup of iced water. Angela rubbed her temples and tried to push the images away. Her guilt was gnawing on her insides, whispering incessantly that God was punishing her. She couldn't escape it or hide from it. She tried to isolate herself in her daughter's room, spending hours sitting in the dark and pushing away friends and family. No one could understand the magnitude of her guilt. She buried her face in her hands and started crying before a knock on the door got her attention. It was Dr. Campbell. The next day, the detectives returned to Emma's room to ask her more questions. Her memory was still hazy, but she could better describe the car and confirm that it was a man driving it, not someone she knew. When given a picture of Pastor O'Reilly, she couldn't identify it as him. Detective Jameson thought that, at this point, the case was almost closed. They had a confession. The victim identified the car, the time, and that a man was driving. However, Detective Phillips still felt something was wrong. So he decided to try another strategy. They went to the interrogation room again and Detective Phillips said the 5 words any culprit would want to hear. "You are free to go." David did not move. "What?" "You are free to go, sir. You will still be held liable for perjury. But for now, you may go. But don't leave town." "Detective, I confessed. I don't understand." "Yes? But fortunately, Miss Campbell regained her consciousness last night." David became quiet, and fear overcame his face. He didn't know what to think. He replayed the events of that fateful night in his head. Angela came home with a shocked look on her face. She broke down, sobbing, and told him what had happened. The car, the sudden flash of a figure on the road, the screeching brakes, the crash, and then silence. The children came down the stairs after they heard their mother crying. He looked at them and didn't hesitate for a second. He hugged his family and told them to go back upstairs. When Deacon Cowley came, he told him he wasn't feeling great and told him to work on the sermon himself. He sent him home, put the kids to bed, showered, and told his wife about his plan. She vehemently refused, but he convinced her it was best for the children. He couldn't do what she did. But now, it seems guilt has gotten to her. "Look, it doesn't matter what the young lady said. I did it, okay? It was not Angela." "Angela?" both detectives asked. "Is it not what the girl said?" "Don't worry what she said. Are you saying it was your wife who was driving the car?" I didn't say that. Now it makes sense. That's why I couldn't believe you. You lied to protect your wife. She hit the poor girl, panicked, went home, and you took the blame for her. No, I did it. I am telling you, I am the one who did it. Why you can't accept my confession? Because it is a lie, Pastor. I respect you for taking the blame, but listen to me. The girl isn't dead. With a confession, a good lawyer, and good behavior, your wife might spend a short time in prison. But I need your cooperation, okay? Detective Johnson will take your statement, okay? We will be right back as soon as they walked out. Detective Jameson, puzzled, pointed out that this didn't make sense. Emma confirmed that it was a man who drove the car. Detective Phillips smiled and mentioned that it didn't make sense and didn't say anything. They got into the car and started driving. Wait, this is not the way to the hospital. We are not going to hospital. I thought we were arresting Angela. We will. But first, we arrest the real culprit. And you are not going to tell me who it is, I'm guessing. Phillips smiled and shook his head. A few minutes later, they stopped before the Starry Night Motel. In less than a minute of questioning, Edward confessed it was him. Edward first met Angela at the church and was quickly drawn to her. He immediately jumped on the opportunity when he heard she worked with a few local businesses. After 3 kids, her marriage was stagnant, and with her husband being a pastor and always busy, she felt neglected. He tried many times, but she turned him down. Then, one day, she didn't. On the day of the accident, they had sex for the first time. She had a few glasses of wine, so he offered to drive closer to her house. He was so overjoyed to be with her that he didn't see the poor girl. At that moment, all his dreams turned into a nightmare. He tried to call the police, but she panicked and said no. She couldn't face her husband. When they saw a car's headlights coming, she told him to go back to his motel and that she would take care of it. He thought she would take the girl to the hospital, but when he heard nothing, he realized she wasn't. A month later, Detective Phillips stopped by Pastor O'Reilly's house. A moving truck was parked outside, and boxes were sitting out. David and his son gingerly walked out of the house, carrying a dresser. When they saw him, David told Adam to help his siblings. The detective picked up the dresser and helped bring it without saying a word. "How can I help you, Detective?" "I just came to apologize, Pastor. I know I was harsh with you, and you didn't deserve that." "Oh, that's all right. I lied to you, so you are fine. But how did you know?" "Let's call it instinct. That's a gift from God." "Sure, Pastor. Speaking of which..." "Oh, I knew you didn't just come to apologize. Ask your question. Seems I am not the only one with gifts." "Of course not. God is generous. It was you who caused that fire, wasn't it?" "I swore I wouldn't lie again. So yes, it was me." "Is that instinct too?" The detective laughed and shook his head as he walked away, saying, "This was a gift from God in the pastor's care." This story contains descriptions of violence. Franklin Wyatt had a voice that made people lean in, a voice you'd trust to guide you through a storm. In the sleepy town of Crosshaven, sometime in the mid-1980s, Franklin was more than a pastor. He was a caretaker for the foster kids no one else could handle, and a fixture at every town potluck. People saw Franklin as a quiet man with an unshakable sense of purpose. No one would have guessed he was running from a past darker than any storm cloud. Years ago, Franklin had done the unthinkable. He'd taken the lives of his wife, Elise, and his teenage daughter, Margaret. They weren't cruel women, but they were fierce. Too fierce for Franklin's tightly wound idea of what a household should be. Elise never backed down from an argument, and Margaret's quick wit was as sharp as a knife. To Franklin, their defiance wasn't just a challenge. It was a sign of something broken that needed fixing. One thunderous night, in the heat of a feverish prayer, he believed he'd heard God's voice telling him how to save them. And so he acted, not out of rage, but a misguided conviction that he was doing right by them. Afterward, Franklin vanished. Back then, it was easier to slip through the cracks. No internet to trace your steps, no databases to cross-check your lies. Franklin reinvented himself as a pastor in Crosshaven. His calm demeanor and willingness to take in troubled teens earned him a reputation as a saint. He never let on that his saintly acts were fueled by guilt so heavy it made his hands shake when he prayed alone at night. On a brisk October morning, Naomi arrived at Franklin's foster home. She was 17, with wild brown hair barely contained in a bun and eyes that dared you to challenge her. The social worker's file described her as intelligent but confrontational. A girl who'd burned through too many foster homes, Franklin greeted Naomi with his usual warmth, extending a hand. "Welcome home, Naomi," he said. Naomi paused, her gaze sharp before muttering, "Thanks," and brushing past him into the house. Naomi wasn't one to fade into the background. She questioned Franklin's rules, skipped prayer meetings, and made no effort to hide her disdain for his sermons. The other teens adored her. Her wit was magnetic, and her boldness gave them something to admire. But to Franklin, she was a storm waiting to happen. Her defiance brought back memories of Elise and Margaret. He saw the same fire in Naomi, and it kept him awake at night. One evening, Naomi came home late. Franklin was waiting in the kitchen, his Bible open on the table, and a single lamp casting long, flickering shadows. "We have rules here, Naomi," he said, his voice calm but heavy. Naomi dropped her backpack onto a chair and crossed her arms. "What are you gonna do? Kick me out?" "Go ahead. It's not like I haven't heard it before." Franklin closed his Bible and stood, gripping the back of the chair in front of him. "I'm not here to punish you. I'm here to help you." Naomi rolled her eyes so hard, it was a wonder they didn't stick. "Save the speech, Pastor. You're not my dad, and you're definitely not my savior." With that, she turned and headed upstairs, leaving Franklin staring after her. That night, Franklin retreated to the basement, where he kept his tools and spent hours in prayer. The space smelled of sawdust and damp earth. As he knelt on the cold floor, his thoughts swirled. Naomi wasn't just another rebellious teen. She was a test, a reflection of everything he'd failed to fix before. If he couldn't save her, what did that say about him? About the choices he'd made? The next day, Franklin asked Naomi to join him in the basement after dinner. His house was quiet, save for the faint ticking of the old grandfather clock in the hallway. "I'd like to pray with you," he said, his tone steady but insistent. Naomi raised an eyebrow, her arms crossed. "What's this about?" "Finding peace," Franklin replied. He watched as she hesitated, then shrugged and followed him downstairs. The basement was lit by a single bulb that cast harsh light over the cluttered space. Franklin gestured toward a wooden bench. Naomi sat, but kept her arms folded, her eyes scanning the room. "All right," Naomi said, her voice tinged with sarcasm. "Let's hear it." Franklin stood before her, gripping his Bible. "This isn't just about prayer," Franklin began, his voice trembling. "It's about saving your soul." Naomi narrowed her eyes. "Yeah, no, I'm out." She stood to leave, but Franklin blocked her path. "Sit down," he said, his voice low and urgent. "What the hell is wrong with you?" Naomi snapped, her voice rising. She tried to push past him, but Franklin grabbed her shoulders. At that moment, he saw Elise and Margaret, their faces blurred together with Naomi's. The anger, the defiance, the hurt. It was too much. Everything that happened next was a blur. When it was over, Naomi lay still on the cold basement floor. Franklin's hands were shaking, his breath coming in short, ragged gasps. He knelt beside her, tears streaming down his face. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm so sorry." The next day, Franklin buried Naomi in the woods, spinning a tale about her running away. The other teens believed him. Why wouldn't they? He was their rock, their guide. Residents of Crosshaven rallied around him, offering condolences and praising his patience. It was almost enough to make him believe his own lies. That evening, Franklin sat alone in the darkened living room, the weight of his sins pressing down on him. For a moment, he thought about turning himself in. But before Franklin could act, the phone rang. "Pastor Wyatt?" the voice on the other end said. "We've got a new placement for you. A teenage girl, 15. She's had a rough go of it, but we think she'd do well in your home." Franklin closed his eyes and let out a slow breath. "Of course," he replied. "Send her over." When the girl arrived a few days later, Franklin met her at the door. She was small for her age, with wary eyes and a scowl that could cut glass. "Welcome home," he said, his voice warm and steady. She didn't respond, just brushed past him into the house as the door clicked shut. Franklin stood in the quiet hallway, his thoughts racing. Maybe this time will be different, he told himself. Maybe this time I'll get it right. The house settled into silence, but Franklin's heart was anything but still. The betrayal. The door to the kitchen flew open and hit the side of the refrigerator with a loud thud. Cold air rushed in. "You rotten bitch. I trusted you." Brock McCarthy stood in the doorway with his shoulders squared and fists clenched. "How could you do that to me?" His nostrils flared as he shook his head. Stunned, Clara Simmons gasped when she heard the commotion. After she regained her composure, She bristled at the hateful accusation. She placed the half-empty dinner plate she was holding in the sink. Staring into his brown eyes, she asked, "What the hell are you talking about?" After 2 years of living together, she knew Brock's temper. But this deranged outburst was worse than usual. "You know damn well what I'm talking about. My secret. I told you never to tell anyone about that shit. I didn't say anything to anybody." Her words were unhurried but emphatic. "You had to tell somebody something. When I went to the back door after work, all the guys started busting my balls, dropping hints, talking shit like they knew things. All of them acted like they knew something. And you're the only one I talked to about that shit." Brock unzipped his black leather jacket and draped it on the back of a kitchen chair. "Why did you do it? You're nuts. Or you're drunk. I didn't say anything." They glared at each other as a chilling silence gradually filled the room. "Hell, I'm not even close to being drunk. I had to leave the bar before I could finish my pitcher." It was impossible to tell what Brock was more agitated about, leaving cold beer or defending himself against the swirling speculations about his hidden, checkered past. "Did you bother to ask how your drinking buddies heard about your precious secret?" Her voice was soft, as if asking a child if they had finished their homework. "I didn't have to. Damn it. You are the only one who knows." With unhurried steps, Clara walked around the kitchen table, pulling on the back of the chair. The faint scraping of the wooden legs against the linoleum broke the quiet, like fingernails on a chalkboard. She took a seat and cast her gaze towards her angry boyfriend. "That's not exactly true." She paused as their eyes momentarily locked. "Is it?" The tone of her now controlled voice was made bitter by a toxic mix of scorn and controlled rage. "Those women know." After a long pause to emphasize her point, she said, "Trust me, they really know." Like air escaping from a balloon, Brock's body went limp. Without making a sound, he fell into the chair across from her, searching her face for a clue about her intentions. "Look, you chose to tell me about your twisted secret. It was your choice." Clara's voice was cold. "And I haven't told a soul since. But now I'm wondering what else you might be hiding." "Wait, that's not fair." "Fair? Fair? You have the balls to mention fair to me? That's laughable. You bust in here and accuse me of betraying you without a shred of evidence. I've always told you everything." Brock reached up and scratched the scruffy hair on his face. "I didn't have to tell you about the women and you know what happened? But I did. And now you expect me to carry the same guilt?" Clara adjusted her glasses. "No, of course not. It's not guilt, exactly. Not really. It's more like, I don't know how to explain it." They sat listening to the faint sound of the small clock on the oven, ticking away the minutes, like the shattered pieces of their failing relationship. Absent-mindedly, Clara used her thumb to wipe the pepper dust off the shaker sitting in the middle of the table. "Do you think one of the women, moved here?" He took a long time to answer, as if he hated the power of what truth might do to him. "It's possible." He bit the inside of his cheek a few times while he thought. Clara leaned back in her chair. "So, what will you do? I mean, if you see one of them?" She stifled a yawn as her composure returned. "There's another possibility. What if one of those women sent their boyfriend to find you? Like a trapper beating the bushes to get the snakes to show where they're hiding." Brock twisted his face into a scowl after he deciphered her meaning. Crap. He leaned back into his chair. He sat silent for a long moment. "I've never even thought about that. It was always a slim possibility, I guess." "Well, I think you had better start thinking about that possibility, because I never said a word to anyone, ever. Why would I?" Brock pursed his lips and folded his arms in resignation. Holy shit. What are we going to do now? We? Are you seriously thinking this problem is a we thing? I didn't have anything to do with that shit. I wasn't there. I don't even know who they are. This is your ugly history, not mine. Always has been. I thought we were a couple. I thought we were, getting serious. Brock's voice conveyed desperation. "Oh yeah, that was before you came in here and blamed me for something I didn't do. I don't think I want to stick around to see what else you might blame me for. No, babe, wait, you can't do that. Really, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry." Well, I guess you should have thought about that before you shoved open the kitchen door with a heart full of hate. I went from bitch to babe in 5 minutes. And I don't want to see how long it'll take next time. She placed her hands flat on the table. Calmly, she rose and ambled across the kitchen towards the bedroom. Stopping halfway, she turned and said, "I don't want to become another secret in your long history of betrayals. Where I come from, love is all about trust. And you just lost mine. And now you're losing me." She turned and went into the bedroom and slammed the door. A living mirage. Life, as funny as it sounds, flows in a circle. And I, personally, never liked circles. I'm more of an octagon kind of person. Sally snorts at her own thoughts, but groans when the noise is muffled by the hand that is covering the lower part of her face. It smells of sewerage, grimy, disgusting, and somewhat musty. Familiar, heart-wrenching, stomach-churning, brain-rotting, but familiar. Maybe a little too familiar. His movements are sluggish, as usual. His joints crack with every step, and Sally fears he might die on the spot. Although she is certain nobody would miss good old Donovan Peters If he were to suddenly disappear, they slowly creep into the familiar room, announcing their arrival with every creak of rotten wooden floor. Sally's mind wistfully returns to her life before this. Was there even one? Her memory falters. Why can't I remember? Her eyes scan the room frantically, sweeping over the unmade bed, splintered floor, and boarded-up window. Her home. Her cell. Her hands strain against the rope, shaking from the terror of having returned to this fearful place. NPA. Her protest is muffled, much like her snort from earlier. No, no. This will not do. His voice is croaky and barely clear. If she had not known his actual age, she might have thought him to be on the verge of expiration. His chest presses against the back of her head as he forces her inside. His shove is aggressive, and when she falls to the floor, his laughter ricochets off the walls. She barely manages to get to her knees when the door is slammed, locked and barred. Donovan's sinister laughter continues to echo as the sound of his footsteps retreats. Sally shakes her head, forcing tears back into her eyes. She won't. No, she refuses to lose any more of them for that monster. I told you, it won't work. A doe-eyed beauty emerges from the darkest corner of the room. Sally's temper flares, and she springs to her feet, charging at the beauty. It was you, wasn't it? Her voice is cold enough to slice through any warmth in the room, and the beauty lowers her eyes. Sally tugs on the rope around her wrists until it unties, and then uses it to press down onto the other girl's neck. Layla Angelou can rot for all I care. The voice in her head is loud, and she hisses. The girl claws at the rope around her throat and falls back against the wall. Splinters pierce her skin, but she refuses to make a sound. It's always you. Why? Sally's eyebrows are pulled together furiously, and her sharp blue eyes have turned into ice. Don't lie to me. Sally's outburst receives no reply, and her arms finally slump enough for the girl to breathe. But she does not remove the rope. A sob racks through her chest. I thought that this time, at least this once, you'd let me go. Go where? The girl rasps, rubbing her throat. Her luscious black hair cascades down her back and shoulders, perfectly framing her figure. Her green eyes hold a certain complicated depth, and her plump pink lips are pulled into a miserable pout. Sally pulls away completely. Somewhere, nowhere, anywhere but here. She turns her back on the girl and throws the rope aside, massaging her bruised wrists. We can make this work, Sally. I promise. If you just try, you'll see. Please, Why can't you just stay with me? Sally ignores her. This is a conversation they've had before. A fruitless one. Once she's soothed the sting on her wrists, she turns around to face the girl again. Her eyes trail down to her throat, and her stomach churns at the fresh burn marks. She knew her throat was already sensitive. She can admit when she was out of line. I'm sorry, Layla. Her head nods in the direction of the girl's neck, but the girl waves it away quickly. Not a problem at all. Happens to us all. They remain in silence for a good 5 minutes before Layla walks towards the bed and starts to fix the bedding. She hums a soft tune as she works, sounding rather cheerful. Sally hates it. How can she be so content in a situation such as this? I kept some dinner for you. Layla pulls a corroded metal bowl from below the bed and nudges it towards Sally, who reluctantly nears to accept it. The half-eaten apple in the bowl is bruised and looks less than appetizing, but she sends Layla a grateful smile and devours it. I'll try again someday. You know that, right? Something scratches at the window, scaring the two. Layla nearly trips over her own feet as she rushes to hide behind Sally's figure. Not that Sally has any height advantage over her. Sally pats Layla's hand on her shoulder, comfortingly, before removing it and placing the bowl on the ground. She clamps the apple core in her hand and crouches closer to the window. Something about this feels too familiar, and Sally falters in her steps. Something about the entire night feels way too familiar. Yes, she's been in this predicament for quite some time, but the déjà vu she's experienced tonight has been one too many for her to just ignore it. The boards used to cover the window start to blur, pixelate. Sally glances over her shoulder at Layla to confirm if she's just imagining things. But the sheer confusion on Layla's face says it all. Everything is real. Sally stops in front of the window and gasps when she sees the image within the pixelated particles. A scene, much like the one she's just experienced with Donovan, is mirrored in front of her. A mirage? That's not possible. She reaches forward, holding her breath as her fingertips breach the surface of the image before her. Sally turns around to face Layla, but her breathing stops completely when Layla's figure has disappeared. Her eyes scan the room frantically, but all evidence of Layla having been there has disappeared. Layla! She tries to call, but her voice gets stuck in her throat. Sally turns towards the mirage again and falls backwards when her eyes connect with those of Layla. Only this time, Layla's eyes are a forest green, with a small red fire burning inside her pupils. Pain creeps through her body as her back makes contact with the floor. Layla opens her mouth, and what comes out is a cruel cackle. Inside the mirage, Sally can see another version of herself being shoved into the room and then having a fight with Layla. But the difference is that there are two versions of Layla. The one is pressed against the wall by the other Sally, and the other one is standing to the side and laughing hysterically, like she is watching a form of comedy. Oh, Sally dear. The cackling Layla turns to face Sally through the mirage, and the pixelated particles of the window starts to shimmer. Sally crawls backwards when Layla's hand pierces the surface, and pale, bony fingers clamp around the frame of the window. I remember this. Her voice is muffled by uncertainty, but she manages to push herself up from the floor. I remember all of this. She says this to herself as confirmation. Her eyes dart around the room, and then back at where Layla is still dragging herself through the pixels. She never understood her unsanctioned hate towards Layla. But suddenly, it all makes sense. Every memory stabs at her mind, and for once, she understands what is happening. She's always hated Layla because she knew exactly what she was. That's why Layla does this. Sally runs towards the bed and collects the rope from the ground in the process. I will escape! She ties the rope around one of the springs at the bottom of the bed and bites into her hand, hard enough to draw blood. Tears spill from her eyes as she smears her blood all over the rope, and then uses her index finger to write 3 simple words on the bottom of the mattress. You must escape. She stares at the words, her stomach churning from another feeling of déjà vu. I've done this before? She grits her teeth painfully before reaching up to add something else. You must escape, Layla. Sally crawls out from under the bed and eyes Layla's half-emerged figure fearfully. Without a second longer to lose, she runs to the door and starts banging frantically. With every second she's banging, Layla crawls further out of the pixelated window, laughing comically at Sally's terror. What's all the ruckus about? Donovan barges into the room, but Sally ducks underneath his arms and runs with her every fiber to reach the front door. The stairs complain under her weight as she trips down them, but she doesn't stop. Oh, Sally. Layla's voice sing-songs from behind her, and she shudders. Sally bumps against torn furniture and leaps over newspapers strewn all over the floor, but her eyes stay focused on the black, bolted front door. Her hands shake as she jiggles the locks around, but they refuse to budge. Come on, Sally. I just want to play. That's right. We just want to play. Donovan's voice has turned more laryngeal, and Sally's skin crawls. Please, no. She ruffles the old newspapers on the table beside the door, searching for the keys. But her movement stills when she notices an odd peculiarity in all of the newspapers. Although they are of different dates and already discolored, they have one thing in common: a picture of her. Although they have been edited and computer-generated to show her at different ages they are all her. Her head spins, and bile pushes up her throat. Sally backs away from the table until her back bumps against a kitchen counter. A voice inside of her yells at her to run, but her feet stay plastered to the ground. Layla's comical laughter has turned into sinister screams, and Sally can finally hear Donovan's heavy footfalls approaching the staircase. She shakes her head to clear her thoughts and almost releases a sigh of relief when she notices a pair of rusty keys peeking out from below a chipped teacup. Sally grabs the keys and rushes to the door, willing her trembling hands to still and complete the task. One lock clicks open, then another, and finally, the last one. Sally nearly sags to the floor in relief, but manages to keep herself poised enough to pull the door open. She runs out of the door, down the 2 stone steps, and onto the asphalt ground. She manages to run all the way to a broken-down truck when Donovan's voice booms in the form of a roar. She ducks behind the truck and presses her back securely against it. Her chest rises and falls erratically, and she makes sure to slow her breathing as to not make a sound. She lowers herself to the ground and pulls her knees to her chest, begging for a door of any of the surrounding houses to open and for someone to come to her rescue, but no one does. Ever. The silence that follows Donovan's roar is deafening. Layla has also stopped cackling, and not even birds can be heard. This is the first time Sally scans the houses around them, only to notice the degraded state every one of the houses are in. They are old and decrepit. There is no possibility that anyone can live in these houses. Her heart stutters, and her entire body goes cold. She turns her gaze towards the side mirror of the truck and finds a terrified version of herself staring back. Her eyes widen at the words scrawled onto the mirror in old, dried blood. Not safe. Follow arrows. Her lips part, but no oxygen enters. She manages to push herself to her feet, albeit shakily, and glances around the truck. Donovan is standing in the doorway, looking around calmly. Behind him, the low hum of Layla's singing fills the air. Run, little mouse. Run, little mouse. Let's all have some fun. Goosebumps spread across the entirety of Sally's body, and she hisses before pushing against the surface of the truck and taking off in the direction of the first arrow that's drawn beside the writing on the mirror. Layla's laughter fills the air, but Sally ignores her as she pushes her legs and pumps her arms harder. Harder. Her eyes scan the surrounding area as she runs, looking for any sign of an arrow. The arrows lead her all the way to an abandoned parking lot of a large business. Her eyes fleet around frantically, but she sees no more arrows. with Layla's humming from behind as her motivation. She runs into the building and ducks below the entrance gates. But when she stops in front of the doors of the elevator, her entire body freezes. From the surface of the elevator door, albeit blurry due to the deterioration, she can see two glowing orbs smiling back at her. Those orbs are illuminated by a red fire burning from the middle of the black pupils. Poor little mouse. Layla leans over Sally's shoulder and skims her cold fingers across her cheek. It's so easy to lay a trap for a mouse who loves its cheese. She laughs hysterically and leans onto Sally for support. This is not the end. Sally bites back, curling her hands into fists. Layla stares at her through the reflection of the elevator door before laughing comically. You're right, dear. This, she waves her hand around as if showcasing her to an audience, is simply the beginning. And we, she points a finger at Sally and then back at herself. We are going to have a lot more fun together. Sally rips herself away from Layla and spins around. But Layla tuts, snaps her fingers, and then slaps her palm against Sally's forehead in one swift movement. There's no rush, dear. With her words, Sally's world starts to spin, and her eyes flicker before she is consumed by darkness. And the next thing she sees is the familiar, cold, creaking hallway of Donovan's apartment. He forces her down the hall with his chest pressed against the back of her head, and his hand clamped securely around the lower half of her face. Life, as funny as it sounds, flows in a circle. And I, personally, never liked circles. I'm more of an octagon kind of person. Sally snorts at her own thoughts, but groans when the noise is muffled by the hand that is covering the lower part of her face. It smells of sewerage, grimy, disgusting, and somewhat musty. Familiar, heart-wrenching, stomach-churning, brain-rotting, but familiar. But for the first time, it seems just a little too familiar. Memory of the future. Ed is looking down the cliff, watching the waves crashing on the beach, same place he was when his baby brother went missing. His parents never spoke of it, like he never had a sibling. It is a summer night. Goes inside for dinner. No one says a word, same as usual. Ed does the dishes. His dad buries himself on the couch in front of the TV, and Mom goes to her room. Another boring evening at the Wallaces. Maybe all the answers to all of our questions are out there in the dark forest. Ed pushes aside a twig from a tree with his left hand to look ahead. It is so dark. He knows he is naked. Why would he? He wonders. It is freezing. Now he is elsewhere, in front of a shed. On the other side, he simply knows there are three beings, which could pass off as triplets, all looking the same. except the one in the middle seems to be a female. They are facing the wall that takes to the woods. Their oval heads are almost a triangle with a pointy chin. The nipples of the both males have a pyramidal shape. The females are round. The three of them appear to be wearing a silvery overall, orange latex gloves up to their elbows, some work boots. Only those aren't brown or black, but in the same silvery tone. Or are they? Their actual feet. They got only 2 toes, the eyes completely white, no pupils or lids, and pointy ears, like they were elves from a fairy tale. They seem to albinos, the skin so white. They are staring at Ed like the shed was gone. He can also see them clearly. The walls appear invisible. Ed doesn't know what to do. No matter, though, because he suddenly realizes even if he wanted to move or scream or run, he couldn't. They wouldn't let him. Ed is back in bed. Was it a dream? Whatever it was, he can tell inside that shed there was a time machine. A young boy went there every night to build it, so he could get back the girl that ditched him. He was too. A lone one. Ed goes to school like it's any other day. Does not pay attention in classes. He looks out the window and sees the boy that built the time machine. He is a mysterious one, skipping stones at some lake. Back home, Ed is sitting on the grass next to the cliff, still with those 3 beings on his mind. He wonders who they were and where. Where did they come from and why? What could they possibly want with him? Ed takes a shower, same as every afternoon. After he is done with his homework, and before they have dinner, he is finished cleaning up, and water is running down his body. He goes to open the curtain to get out, but he opens some kind of vortex. He can see a galaxy light years away. In the middle, a throne with a Nordic woman with her child in her arms. As soon as he looks into the woman's eyes, he's back in his bathroom, all silent at the table. Barely looks at his plate during dinner, let alone touching his food. His parents eat and leave as usual. His thoughts still on that woman and the throne and those 3 beings he saw the other night. Once on his bed, pulls the sheets up to cover his body, and something gets his attention. There is a huge man on the corner, both hands hugging his knees, showing some concern on his face. Wearing a robe and sandals, must be at least 13 feet tall. Turns around and looks into Ed's eyes. Ed wonders what troubles the giant. The boy that built the time machine pops into both their heads, or into the man's. But Ed can see it clearly, as if he himself was seeing the boy, carrying a box with tools, walking to the shed every night. He must have really loved that girl. Ed is certain he wasn't dreaming when he saw the giant, and neither is he now. The boy has been going to the cemetery in the middle of the night for several weeks, desecrating more than a few graves. Now he's put together a body from parts of some of the corpses he's dug up. And next to the body, he's put a photo of the girl who left him, in the hopes that some part of her essence will enter the empty vessel. As some modern Frankenstein, he intends to give life to the body by means of electricity. Ed sees himself pulling the lever, but before he can find out if it worked, if the body is alive, he appears to jump through time. Now Ed is in 1978, June 6th, almost the 7th, as he looks at his watch and it's 11:50 p.m. The date he sees in a page of a journal flying by, carried out by the wind. He is in a city destroyed by a nuclear war, which never happened. Not in this reality, anyway. Ed sees the boy jumping through time and space once again. What was once a bouquet of flowers rests next to a long forgotten grave. That is all we can expect in life. When we go, our loved ones will mourn us and cry for some time, recalling memories with us, but not too long. They learn to move on and leave us behind, to forget. Ed just knows the boy was never born, not in this reality. The boy just wanted peace and kept himself from being born. There is no grave, no tomb, no resting place for the boy. He is now at peace, wherever he may be. From out of nowhere, a girl appears. As white as snow, her skin is, dark as ebony, her long hair. There is no exit for her. She's on the edge of the precipice, a man getting closer, no options left. To live or to be free, that's the end of the road for the girl. She jumps to her own demise, feeling like she'd cab fly for a few seconds, and then the sea. She turns into sea foam. She appears to be floating on the ocean, feeling but peace and quiet. Another man comes into the scene. He was on the beach and comes to the girl. He looks into her blue eyes. Suddenly, it is Ed looking into those eyes, and then it's the firmament and the cold space. It starts raining, and Ed can see the drops falling to floor, and the tombs, the cemetery again. The abandoned and long-forgotten grave's tombstone reads, Carola Duval. Was it all a dream? Is Ed wondering when he starts an astral travel? Feels himself leaving his body, only it's not him, but a boy he's seen before. Somewhere in dreams, perhaps. Ed sees the boy getting back in his body as three tall beings with elephant-like skin stand next to him. Those beings have rat-gray skin, huge black eyes, no iris or retina, just pupil, no nose, no mouth, oval heads. The boy covers his head with the sheets, hoping they will leave soon. Now Ed finds himself in his own room, his head covered, those beings next to him. Through the sheets, he can see blue lights and begins floating above his bed. And now He is the one hoping they leave. Ed wakes up a little dizzy and having no idea what that all was. When did they leave? Did they do something to him? He takes a shower, gets downstairs, and grabs a glass with orange juice and goes to school. Again, he pays no attention to his class or classmates. During lunch, sitting with his friends, they are all laughing and talking, and he's just gone. He remembers when the last pandemic happened. He dreamed of a guy meeting 3 shadowy figures. Never gave it much thought, but now he wonders if that was a dream at all. And is it somehow related to what he's been seeing in dreams? "Are you here?" asks his mom, when once again he hasn't touched his food. He's playing with his fork and some peas. He found himself staring at a girl in some Greek ruins. Ed goes to bed early. He is staring at the ceiling, not thinking of anything. He doesn't even notice when he falls asleep. Or is he? Through the corner of his right eye, he sees 3 green-skinned beings, 4 feet tall, tops. They were there a second before. Now, they're gone. It is 3:15 a.m. And he falls asleep once more. He is just a child, 4, 5 years old, playing in the park. His mom holding his baby brother's hand. Now his mom goes to the ice cream truck while he watches his brother. It is now late and dark. All 3 of them walking home. His dad is there, waiting for them. And those 3 eye beings in front of them, his baby brother, they take with them. And his parents never talked about him again, like he never existed. He didn't exist, not in this reality, anyway. The female being speaks, or rather, prints it on Ed's mind. They do not move their mouths. "Your brother has a bigger fate," speaks the being on the left. "How can you?" asks Ed inside his head. "We can see your thoughts," says the being on the right. "And you can see ours," adds the one on the left. "You had no sibling in this life. That's a memory of another reality," said the female. "And now he's here again, looking down the cliff, watching the waves crashing on the beach. Same place he was when his baby brother went missing. Or at least, that's what Ed would remember. Second fair chance. Second fair chance. Lord Farnsworth, thank you so much for inviting me to dinner. I want to apologize for anything I did to create tension between us, and let you know how grateful I am to have this second chance to make a better impression. Well, Sir Fenwick, be assured if I didn't cherish my daughter, Charity, so much, you would never get another opportunity to make appeasement. She begged me to reconsider my dismissal of your attentions toward her. She is very taken with you, so you must not be all that horrible, maybe a little misguided when it comes to how you treat a lady of high standing, such as my beautiful daughter. I found you in a compromising position in the garden at that soiree. Still, she'll be joining us after our before-dinner sherry. I remember you made quite a showing at our fox hunt outing. You set a fine steed and contributed an experienced pair of foxhound to the pack. That proves you've had some culture to your upbringing. Yes, sir. I've been riding since I was a young boy. My friend and business partner, Sir Carlton Winslow, attorney at law, is the one with hound experience. His uncle used to train them. The pair were actually borrowed from a well-known sportsman, Lord Dudley Bragg. Ah, yes, Lord Bragg. The name suits him well. He was interested in courting Countess Diana, my sister-in-law, but she found him to be less than gentlemanly when he deserted her and Charity at the market fair. Matter of fact, that is how they made your acquaintance. Isn't that correct? You arranged for their escort home. Now she has been entertaining your friend, finds him quite attractive and courteous. Exactly, Lord Farnsworth. That's another reason it would be so advantageous for me to be able to court your daughter. We could assure each other to remain honorable. Wouldn't you agree? Or encourage each other's bad behavior? Hey, young man, I haven't forgotten what it was like to be your age, seeking female companionship. I must guard my daughter's reputation, you understand? Of course, your lordship. Wouldn't expect anything less. I assure you, my intentions are honorable. I am deeply in love with her already, and desire only the best for her. I would ask for her hand in marriage immediately, if it found favor in your eyes. But I know our societal norms demand much more formal routines. I can only pray for your approval to make me the happiest lovesick fool in London. My joy would be eternal. I can tell how eager you are, and from her behavior, I suspect she feels the very same about you. I'll give it due consideration. So, I understand you are a solicitor, making your way up in the professional standings. Do you suppose you will be able to support my daughter in the manner to which she is accustomed? I am afraid I have spoiled her, especially since her mother passed. Well, to be forthright, it will take some time to match the heights of your accomplishments. I can only hope she is agreeable to living more meagerly until I am more established. We would be rich in love, though. Unfortunately, love does not pay the bills or trade for niceties. And, ahem, it often leads to more mouths to feed. That would only increase our happiness, sir. I am more than ready to embrace whatever our future together could hold. I would be utterly devastated to walk away from a relationship with her at this point. She is my everything. I hope you understand. I'm beginning to see things your way. If I allow this to continue, we must be proper about it. Wouldn't want you scurrying off to Gretna Green to elope over the anvil, now would we? And, Lord forbid, you sneak off to Jersey. That's about as dangerous as it gets. My daughter deserves only the best. Here she comes. Now, come, dear. Thank you for joining us. You look so lovely this evening. That sea foam coloring of your flowing gown brings out the azure of your eyes. You'll have this young man drooling all through dinner. We are ready to go into the dining hall. This way, Sir Fenwick. Yes, you look very becoming as usual, Lady Charity. May I take your arm? And please, call me Riley, sir, of course. No need to be so formal, with only us present. I'll sit at the head of the table with each of you at my sides. Looks like the soup is already served. Let us begin with grace. Father, all this small talk has been charming, and I hope it has let you get to know Sir Riley better and understand what an upright gentleman he truly is. But could we get to the proverbial elephant in the room, since we are all alone and all adults? Sir Riley, dear? Yes, sir. I have an all-important question to ask of you concerning your vivacious daughter. I would very much like to make her my wife, if she will have me. But I need your blessing. Well, you don't beat about the bush now, do you? I was enjoying our lively discussions and imagining what kind of a son-in-law an aspiring lawyer would make. You seem knowledgeable and versed in a wide range of topics. You would never be a boring dinner guest. I can see by the way you look at and respond to my little girl, you are sincere in your feelings toward her. She mirrors those feelings back to you, sort of feeling like a third wheel between you two. Ha, ha. If I didn't give you my blessing, you two would probably defy me and find a way to be together any way you could, sneaking around behind my back or right under my nose. Am I right? So yes, let's make it official. What do you say? I say I need to get down on my knee and do this properly. My fair lady, Charity, would you do me the honor of becoming my wife? Yes? Oh yes. Thought you would never ask. Mine Cole didn't know if he was asleep or awake until he heard someone cough. Then began the incessant striking of hammer on stone. Earl, the foreman, had set up shifts for everyone. He'd said, "Keep pounding. Let them know we're still here. Alive." There was no light. None. Not a glimmer. Everything felt dreamlike. Only Cole's dreams felt real. They played out in daylight. How long since the cave-in? Time had lost meaning. It felt like forever, or an hour ago. He'd startle awake and wonder where he was. Then remember, how long had he slept? A few minutes? Days? His watch was accurate. Give or take 12 hours. Memories blended with reality. Hunger marked time's passing, rolling against gritty stone. He sat up. Hearing others move reminded him there were others. And so far, they had survived. At least the dust had settled. After the collapse, choking dust hung in the air forever. They thought their lungs would never clear. For a long time, whenever someone switched on their lantern, everything looked smoky. Eventually, their coughing stopped. Had it been tights? Earl knew, but didn't want them focusing on that. He'd spent his life in the mines. If anyone asked, Earl would tell them he cut his teeth on a chunk of coal. After the cave-in, he told himself, this is the end. I get out alive. I'm gone. After the initial shock, they could only wait and hope a rescue party would find them before. When the tunnel collapsed, so much happened at once. The screams, the groans, the terror, the chaos. They would all have died had Earl not kept them focused. After a few rushed to escape and got caught in the collapse, his shouted orders stopped the panic. They heard their screams, but could do nothing. There wasn't time. Their equipment was inadequate, couldn't save themselves. The silence that followed gave them chills. The survivors pulled Jed from the rubble. He couldn't walk. They cleared a level spot for him. Using his medical training, Earl directed the others. He stopped Jed's bleeding, but setting broken bones with improvised splints was painful and difficult. They gave him precious water, Earl said. Hope he gets professional help before they set. He knew they would need to re-break them once he got to a hospital. Reality settled. Rescue could take days, might never get out. The prospect of starvation loomed. Earl counted heads. Besides himself, 4 others survived. Sonny, Jed, Cole, and Roman. All but Sonny had grown up together. Their fathers all came from the mines. The collapse came in the morning, so they had food and water. Stow your kits and gear, he said. Once you're secured, douse your lanterns. Save the batteries. The guys were hungry. Earl said, husband your resources, guys. Don't gobble it all at once. Make it last. Maybe down here a while. Earl organized shifts for them. They were to strike stone with a hammer in the Morse code SOS distress signal. Earl handed Cole a pick and pointed to the wall. You start. Someone'll spell you in an hour. Signal 'em that we're alive and waiting. Cole found comfort at the wall. Activity filled the time. He felt useful. It amazed him how things become routine, even in the most primitive circumstances. While each took their turn at the wall, the others sat together in the dark, sharing stories. Sometimes they even laughed in the face of their plight. After a while, Roman began to weep. Hearing his sobs in the dark unsettled the others. A giant of a man. Everyone saw him as stoic, a man of action. He would take on any task. No one expected blubbering about his wife and kids. Now, he despaired. In the darkness, his mask of strength invisible, he revealed himself. Their situation was undeniable. At the wall with the SOS, Cole tried to drown out Roman's sobs. Roman couldn't stifle his tears. His sobs became wails. Earl said, I know it looks bad, man, but you'll be home in a day or two. With a constricted voice, Roman tried to explain. She counts on me. What'll May do if I'm not there for her? She worries. Says, Be sure to come home. What can I do without you? Says the kids cry when I'm late. There was nothing to say. Roman's sobs subsided into labored breathing. It was impossible, but the darkness seemed even blacker. Lacking sight, their sense of hearing sharpened. Each man recognized the personal signature of anyone's slight movement. The darkness did not obscure anyone's location. Hours passed. They drifted in and out of consciousness until their turn to hammer. The SOS came. Anyone have any extra? I'm starving. It was Cole. No one responded. Earl said, Told you not to wolf, man. Come on, guys. Someone must have something. You know I'd share with you. Cole turned on his lamp. He stood over Sonny. I knew it. A stream of profanity flooded out. Others leaped to restrain him. Sonny said, It's mine, man. I didn't take yours. You're hoarding, man. That food belongs to everyone. Earl stepped up, and Cole calmed. What's up, Sonny? Whose kits are those? Sonny said, No one's hammering. Whose shift is it? They're gonna think we're dead. Answer the question. I found 'em, Earl. Didn't steal 'em. Left behind by the others? Yeah, Sam and Gordy. The others who booked. They won't be back. I took them for safekeeping. Everyone looked at him in silence. Finally, he handed a kit to Cole. Earl said, Roman, do an inventory on everyone's victuals. Make sure there's an even distribution. That seemed to satisfy everyone. Earl said, Who's on SOS? Gotta keep the signal up. Don't want them giving up the search. Roman said, I'm up. You keep doing inventory. Sonny, get to it. Things settled after that. Everyone took their turn on SOS. There was less conversation. Everyone kept to themselves. They never knew if their signals were heard. The overhead rumblings of excavation paused. When it resumed, it seemed more distant. Cole asked Earl, They know where we are. What's taking so long? They quitting? The cave-in exposed unstable strata. Aggressive digging could loosen it, bring it all down. Don't want to lose us to their haste. That's why they don't blast? Right. They could only keep signaling. And hope. Hours passed. Their existence settled into a narrow routine. Those not hammering the wall slept or bulled fitfully, kept awake by Jed's groans. Everyone knew he was still alive. No one knew when Jed would scream. Ghosts tormented him. Earl tried to calm him, but there was nothing to give him. Everyone put up with it. Had days passed? Cole awoke from unsettled sleep. He tipped his canteen up and found it empty. He said, When we're back up top, if I ever suggest going camping, somebody please kill me. Others laughed. Sonny said, We're already dead, just don't know it yet. Earl said, Shut up. Don't start that. Sonny said, It's true. We'll never get out. All that's left is arranging ourselves for the grave we're already resting in. Roman said, They're searching. Need to be patient. Sonny said, Give it up. You know I'm right. Earl said, You're not helping. Whining does nothing. I'll whine if I want. You gonna kill me? I'm already dead, Cole said. When they pull me out of here, I'll tell them to leave you behind, that you gave up, cried until you died. They heard a clatter of rocks. A punch glanced off Cole's face. If Sonny had seen his target, it would have hurt more. Screaming with rage, Cole threw himself at his attacker. They fell into the rubble. Earl yelled, "Stop!" They threw punches and grappled. Their thrashing sounded like animals. Earl switched on his lantern. He stood over the two. Sonny had bloodied Cole's face. Earl kicked Sonny's head, sending him to the cave floor. Sonny yelled, "I'll kill you!" "Listen!" Roman stopped hammering. Earl doused his light. The sound of pneumatic drills was close. Brakes led to increased activity. Everyone stepped back from the rubble, blocking the tunnel opening. Dust stirred, making them cough. Stones shifted and rolled to their feet. Cole and Roman dodged a boulder coming to rest between them. They laughed nervously. After several minutes of tense silence, light pierced the darkness. The five cheered as one. Even Jed joined in. Shouting and jumping, they couldn't stop. A large stone broke free and rolled from the tunnel entrance, bathing the cavern in light. They'd been saved. "There's not a ghost in my house." "Sally, Sally, are you running from me, Sally?" "I'm not running, Jessica. You tried to leave before I could catch you." "I'm busy, Jessica. I work." "Meaning I don't work? Let's say you don't do 9 to 5. "Oh, I work, Sally. I work plenty. I work around the clock working. If you call what you do work." "So that's another rumor you've been spreading about me? I'm a bum now?" "I don't spread rumors, Jessica. My name is Jesse, and you know it, since you throw it around a lot. You're paranoid." "Oh, really? I'm paranoid? That's why the whole congregation just snickered at me? I have no idea what you're talking about." "And the preacher just called me imaginative. No idea why. No idea, huh? You haven't shared my new insurance claims around lately. I don't have time for your nonsense." "Nonsense? You're calling the House of Horrors you sold me nonsense?" "We don't entertain ghost stories, Jessica." "No, you just entertained stealing my money and handing me a haunted house." "Honestly, Jessica, you have a wild imagination. It's just an old house. Can you try to tone it down?" "Oh, I'm the liar now? You didn't disclose anything. You sold me a paranormal vortex." "Jessica, I sold you a house. I didn't sell you a haunted house. Older homes are a little noisy." "A little noise?" The lights flicker on and off like a damn hallway disco. Battering rams shake the walls. Something cold keeps stalking me from the laundry room to the upstairs. And then there's the whispers in the landing mirror. And I'm supposed to sleep with the corner shadows slithering past. "Jessica, church parking lots are not the time or place for your ghost stories. Your wiring is older, however. The house is perfectly fine and passed our inspection. Your insurance policy will not be covering your broken dish claims or any other fabrications." "You mean my floating dishes claims before they rain and smash, plus the floating beds claims and the floating curtains, and the floating Emmy. I don't know what you're trying to prove, but it's not working. You're making a scene here for nothing. Please, seek help. Oh yeah, it's all in my head, Sally. Is that the game we're playing? The entire town knew about it. This is a county, not a town, Jessica. Fine. Sally. It's a hamlet. Village. Royal ripoff capital. In the middle of dumb duck nowhere. 'Cause menial technicalities matter more than the fact that you sold me a freaking haunted house. Even the locksmith threw the keys and ran. It seems you enjoy stirring up drama, Jessica. We will resume this conversation when you are calm. I've got a damn good reason to be dramatic. Drama is trying to live in that place without getting dragged into the walls myself. I wake up to doors slamming. I try to go to bed and the roof howls. Look at me, Sally. Not at this crowd. I don't know what you expect from me. It's not my problem. It's yours. No, you sold me a nightmare. And now I'm making it your problem. The whole damn place is cursed. And now I've got a town full of people looking at me like I'm some damn lunatic. I want my money back. I'm not giving you any money, Jessica. You signed the papers. You knew what you were getting. Yeah, I signed the papers, but you didn't tell me the house bled. I'm swimming in a demon ditch, and you knew it, didn't you? That's enough. I didn't do anything wrong. You're the one who... You act like you don't do anything wrong. Instead, you've been telling people I'm crazy. You've made everyone think I've lost my mind. But I'm gonna make sure everyone knows the truth. I don't know what you want me to do, Jessica. The house is yours. If it's that big a deal, you can move. I have to go. We're all aware you have your jolly holiday to pack for, but you're going to handle this first. My holidays are well earned, Jessica. Unlike some... You're saying that I haven't earned a holiday? I'm saying you need to take a step back. I would love to step back, Sally. I would love to just go home and enjoy a nice Sunday brunch without my forks levitating above my head. It's not in my head, Sally. It's above my head. And I have loads of video proof online. It all went viral. None of that has been proven to be real. Proven? You want me to prove it? How about you come over for a meal? You can even spend the night. The guest room has floating lamps and screaming furniture that likes to rearrange itself. I'm sorry you feel this way, Jessica, but your home purchase and insurance policy can't help you with your haunting. My haunting. When are we going to acknowledge the literal hell you've put me through? The place is cursed, and you sold it to me with a smile on your face. And now I'm stuck in this ghost infestation, and you ruined my rep to boot. No one is answering my ads. Maybe no one needs your services here, Jessica. Will that be before or after the rumors you spewed? 'Cause they think I'm all crazy, right? 'Cause you didn't do anything wrong, right? I did not. I went out of my way to help you in an emergency. You were an opportunist. We all helped you, Jessica. Helped me how? Don't smirk at me. You ripped me off. I want my money back so I can move to a normal home with visitors that don't drop through ceilings. If you want people to visit you, Jessica, perhaps you should share more in community spirit rather than silly stories. I've had plenty of guests, Sally. Like rocks through my window, kids screaming, and slow cars passing. Not to mention the 24/7 live-in spook party you sold. And what about all the tents on your front lawn? The Ghost Hunters Unanimous Team? They're here for the one-night challenge. Do you have a permit for those theatrics? Excuse me? You didn't inform us that you were converting the property to a theater. We may have to cancel your insurance. You bloody snake! Unlike your stories, Jessica, your contract states you must inform us first if you run a business from the premises. And unlike your business slogans, I will be certain to share my bad experience with your real estate and insurance firm to my new 57K ghost followers. And I will sue you for defamation. And I'll sue you back. What defamation, Jessica? You shared my personal claims to half of the town, congregation, and our preacher. I believe we all count as witnesses to your ruining of my reputation. Yeah, let's go to court. No, don't. Jesse, we can review your claim on the 17th when I return. No, Sally. We can review all my claims before you leave for your palm trees on Tuesday. I'm sure it can wait. It's waited long enough. And, Sally, we may have additional info to review. And what might that be? Jesse? I am considering turning my ghost house into a business. We need to ensure the... Ouch! Do you always slam your Buick doors like that? Worse ways. Selena runs with a ferocity she didn't think she'd ever need again. Her feet thump, thump, thump on the ground, and her eyes search the dirty rooftop desperately for a familiar May. She knows she's taking too long. She can feel the time slipping through her fingers like grave dirt. She bursts out onto her fourth rooftop, a quick scan providing nothing. She turns around. Her ears catch onto the quietest sound, a scuff, a whimper. She runs over to the other corner of the building and checks behind a wall. There she is. May lays on the floor, cloudy eyes staring uselessly up at the sky, and her entire hand missing, blood leaking out of her at an alarming pace. Her gut is cut open and barely holding together. Her leg bent the wrong way. Blood coats her entirely. Her mouth, her neck, her chest. Selena's hand lands on his shoulder. May jumps, opening his mouth in surprise as she turns her head towards her. Selena? Her voice croaks out painfully, laced with a brittle sort of hope. Yeah, it's me, May. Hold on. Help is on the way. She'd called the ambulance as soon as she heard the news, hoping they'd be fast enough to get to her, find her, hoping she would be too. Selena carefully shifts May into her arms, getting her away from the dirty concrete, and trying desperately to stifle the blood spilling forth easily from her stomach. Selena, May says again, desperately. She says it like Selena is an angel about to bring her to salvation, as if Selena was what she needed, wanted, instead of some random punk from New York that kills people in his spare time, instead of someone who shot a bullet at her skull. I'm sorry, May grits out, blood leaking from her lips and coating his mouth. She feels useless, hopeless as blood continues to gush, and May is the one apologizing instead of her, the self-sacrificial dumbass she is. No, May, you don't get to say that. You stay with me, you hear? You stay right here with me. Her voice shakes, and she feels untethered, like everything is slipping away from her again. She runs her hands over May's unbroken arm, trying to ground the dying girl, trying to bring her back to the world of the living. Please, not again. May opens her mouth and breaks into loud, shattering coughs, blood dribbling down his chin even more. She shakes her, rougher than she probably should, trying to make her come back, make her stop drifting away, even when held beneath the calluses of her palms. May whines in pain. Come on, May. You can't go yet. You've got people to save. You've got friends who need you. Selena needs her, and yet May is leaving. She thinks of Jason and of her brother, Leo. They need her too. Need her like the air in their lungs, like the blood in their veins. Blood that May is covered in. May, please, hold on a bit longer. You can't leave me yet. Who else is going to knock the gun out of my hand? You promised. May we would live happily once this war is over. I haven't heard enough moral preaching yet. Come on. She's pleading, begging, praying to a God she no longer believes in. It's too sudden, too soon. She can't lose someone again. She can't. She'd listen to 1,000 hours of bull crap if it meant May would just live, if it meant May would continue to lecture her and annoy her and be beside her, side breathing and smiling. May's shaking hand reaches up to his shirt and latches on, staining it with her blood. She can hear the sirens getting louder, closer. See, Selena. May's voice is scratchy, pained, weak. Shut up, May. Don't talk. Just stay awake for me. They're so close. Just a little longer. She just needs to hold on a little longer. Selena. No. May can't do this to her. She can't say goodbye. She hears the weight of her name, the finality to it. The hand on her shirt slackens. Her body starts to go limp, and she can feel it. Feel the way death grips her, like it did her brother, like it did her dad. I will miss you. Silena feels her chest shudder with a sob. The tears slip freely from her cheeks. The hand reaches up again, and it's so cold against her cheeks, so cold as it wipes away her tears. She grabs it, holds on to it, like it's the last anchor she has, pressing it to her cheek in the reminder that Silena is here, that May can't leave her here all alone. May should be yelling at her, screaming at her, like she always does. She doesn't respond, even as she shakes her, doesn't move, or breathe, or smile, or yell at her. I'm sorry, May. She whispers to the sirens and the air and the quiet body before her. I'm sorry, May. May is held in her arms, and yet she is alone. She is alone. She yells at the sky, at herself, at the world. She yells, and she yells, and then she cries. Her lips press softly to the cold fingers of the girl she was only just learning to care for. She gently sweeps her bloody hands through dark hair for the first and last time, slowly smooths her thumbs over those open, empty eyes, and closes them against the harsh wind of the city. The paramedics storm the rooftop, and she's dragged away from the body. She doesn't stay to watch them load the body into the ambulance, doesn't stay to watch the ambulance drive off slowly, in no rush to save a dead person. She walks away to a panicked shouting. She lays down in his bed, soaked in another person's blood. She stares at the ceiling with an emptiness clawing at her heart until it drags her down into darkness. She wakes up 5 minutes before her alarm. She wakes without any sleepiness. Suddenly they're thrust into a world where she remembers the feeling of bloody hands against her cheek and the weight of a dead person in her lap. It takes her a second for the feelings to rush back, for the bone-deep exhaustion to settle familiarly in her chest, and the accompanying rage to guide her sights. She stands up as the alarm rings. A standard beep, beep, beep before she shuts it off. She looks at her hands. This gives her pause. She knows she didn't wash her hands last night, remembers the feeling of blood coating each and every finger and staining every surface she touched. Silena looks at the pristine white bed, then down at her spotless white top and clean jeans. Something is wrong. Her hand reaches for her phone, and she stares down at the date with a sinking sense of insanity. That can't be right. That's impossible. The numbers don't change. November 7th, it says, clearly, as if that makes any goddamn sense. Yesterday was November 7th. Yesterday she fell asleep, covered in blood. And yet, with a sudden ferocity, she finds her hands navigating the device, pulling up her contacts, and pressing firmly on a familiar name. The phone rings, and rings, and rings. Someone picks up. "Hello?" May says over the phone, her voice scratchy from sleep with an edge of worry. Her chest rattles with her next breath. His legs wobble, and she collapses onto her bed. "Hello?" May says louder, more alert, worried at the lack of response. "Hey," Silena says quietly. It's all she can say right now. What should one say to a dead woman, not dead? How does one cope when the woman you held till her dying breath is breathing again? "Are you okay? Do you need help?" May asks. There's shuffling over the other side of the phone. A creak. More shuffling. As if May was suiting up. "I'm fine. It's nothing," she grits out. Her chest hurts. Her eyes ache. Her head is swimming with confusion. It doesn't sound like nothing. "Where are you?" "I'm coming over," May declares like the soldier she is, always ready to help, to fight. Misclick. She grits out before she hangs up the phone. She resists the temptation to throw it. She resists the urge to scream. She knows nightmares. She has them every night. But never has one been that real. Maybe she really is going crazy. Tremors shake her body, and she can't just forget holding someone while they die. Can't forget those sightless eyes, or those cold hands, or the putrid smell of blood so strong she was swimming in it. She can't forget the sticky warmth on her hands and her chest and her cheek, on her lips. It's like Todd all over again. Except this time, she can't trust herself, can't trust what she saw and felt and heard and smelled and tasted. She tasted death. May was dead when she fell asleep. May was alive when she woke up. May is alive. Memories of the same past experience hit her like a full-speed bullet train. She's still alive. They are stuck in a time loop, and this is going to repeat. "Mother, dearest, Annie, I'm so sorry. I totally forgot about this weekend. I'm really unwell, so I probably couldn't have made it anyway. If you can wait, I'll help you next weekend. I promise. Love you, XXX." My heart sank. Sarah was unreliable, and she does this all the time. But I really thought she'd come through this time. I suppose I thought that every time But this time, I was hoping it would be different. I knew deep down that our friendship was slipping away. We both led totally different lives, but I felt it would be quite a shame to let a near 20-year friendship fade into nothing. It was clear where she stood on it, however, as she was putting less and less effort into her lies. Next weekend would turn into next month, and next month would turn into after Christmas. By the time we got round to it, when she had a weekend where she had nothing else to do, my Gran's old house would be commandeered by rats, bugs, and all manner of weeds. It was now going to be a long, lonely 3-hour drive across the country to Newbiggin, and an even lonelier weekend clearing out the house. Part of the reason I'd wanted her to come was that I didn't want to stay there overnight on my own. It was the creepiest place I'd ever been. Every summer up until I turned 14, I was forced to spend 2 weeks there while my parents flew off to some tropical destination for a break. It wasn't until I disappeared the night before I was due to be dropped off that my parents took my complaints seriously. I left them a ransom note stating that I was not in trouble and that I was safe at a friend's house. I informed them that I would return home the next morning at 11, an hour before they were due to leave for the airport. When I returned the following morning, at exactly 11 a.m., my mother was already sat in the passenger seat of the car. As I walked up the drive, my father came out of the front door to meet me. He handed me the house key and an envelope, and looked at me with a sly grin. Your mother is upset, as you can see. She wants to leave early. He put his hand on my shoulder. I know you hate going to your Gran's. Quite frankly, I don't blame you. But you're on your own for 2 weeks now, kid. You've got the key. There's 200 quid in there, and that has to last you until we get back. If you starve, then that's on you. And no parties, or I will personally deliver you to your Gran's house and leave you there for a month. He hugged me and kissed me on the head, then got in the car. My mother didn't look at me as they backed off the drive. After a few hours of flicking between podcasts and the radio, I pulled onto the narrow country road that led to the house. It hadn't rained for a few days, but somehow the road was thick with wet mud, and the many potholes that lined it were filled with brown water. I drove carefully along for about 15 minutes until I rounded the last bend and saw the small tree that stretched over the low stone wall of the front garden. As I drove up the driveway, I had to fight every fiber of my being to not reverse out of there and leave the bloody house to rot. Why was I even here? Through some weird sense of loyalty to my mother, a woman that only saw her own mother through proxy, like some old billionaire that can't be bothered to attend board meetings. She had always refused to go to my Gran's house, and also refused to explain to me why. She left as soon as she was able, and moved to the nearest city. Soon after, she met my father, and the rest is history. As far as I could remember, the only time she has been back since was to see my grandfather on his deathbed. Even then, she refused to stay over. I got out of the car and tip-toed my way around more potholes to the large red front door. I pulled out the large brass key I was sent by the lawyers and opened it. It was made from a thick slab of heavy wood. I had to use my shoulder and put all of my weight into it to push it open. Once inside, I struggled to see anything. Dusk was arriving outside, and the windows were so thick with grime that the little daylight that was left was barely getting through. I pulled out my key ring and turned on my small travel torch when something to the right of me caught the corner of my eye. Something moved. I know it did. The painting above the radiator moved its head. I swear it did. But it couldn't have. Obviously. It's a painting. My hand were tingling, and my heart felt like it was climbing a hill in a spin class. I kept the torch shining on the painting and took a few deep breaths, holding for 4 seconds and then exhaling. The painting did not move Annie. I made my way down the hallway to the main room. I retraced my childhood steps towards the large lamp in the corner of the room. I would sneak down here in the middle of the night and read all of my grandfather's old books. The only thing I actually wanted from this clear-out was his original copy of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I would read it every summer. It was the only thing I looked forward to. I found the lamp. I fumbled around with the switch as my hands were still sweaty. When I eventually got it on, my heart sank. The bookshelf was empty. There is very little dust on the shelves, which means it was recently cleared. As far as I was told, I had the only key, so either I was being lied to or someone had broken in. My only hope was that they were in the cupboard at the bottom. I looked in with my pocket torch and was met with spider webs. I made to stand up, but something stopped me in my tracks. I froze to the spot. My eyes widened to the point where I thought they might fall out. I held my breath. Silence surrounded me until I heard it again. It pierced through my chest. I wanted to scream, to heave open the huge door and leave without looking back. But something kept me there. I slowly turned around. I tried to silently creep through the room, over to the bottom of the large wooden staircase in the middle of the grand hallway. But with every step came a creak from the ancient floorboards. Each creak of the floorboards seemed to reverberate up my spine. My head was fizzing. I reached the entrance back into the hallway, and I could still hear the laugh. It was coming from upstairs. I was drenched with sweat. I could almost feel the drops leaving my pores. My cortisol levels must have been breaking all sorts of records. This is insane. Why am I going up the stairs? At the top of the stairs, the main bedroom and the bathroom were to the right. On the left was my mother's old bedroom, the bedroom that I inherited during those dreaded summers. I waited at the top and held my breath, listening for the laughter. If this was all a game by some silly country kids, they would be lucky to leave with all of their fingers. After a few seconds, I heard it. It was coming from my mother's old room. Enough sneaking about, I leapt up the final stair and burst into the room. Empty. I listened again, but the laughter had stopped. I shone the torch around the room. I had to take a second to think back, to make sure I was remembering things right, as the room looked totally different to the last time I was here. It had been turned into a shrine for my mother. There was pictures of her everywhere, some with her parents, some with my father. There was one of her holding me as a newborn, some with her and friends. All of her old toys were dotted around the room on shelves and drawers. Old medals and school certificates were stuck to the walls. I didn't understand. Why would my grandmother do this? My mother always told me she was cold and distant, never showed any real affection. I always believed her, as that was exactly how she was with me. This made no sense, but who else would do it if it wasn't her? I picked up a photo of my mother as a baby. I looked exactly like her at that age. I almost had time to form a smile before being shocked so much. I dropped the picture and smashed the glass. Bright lights were flashing in through the window, almost as if someone was speaking Morse code. I made my way over to the window and saw that the light was coming from the headlights of my car. Shit. I must have left them on. I hope the battery isn't going flat. I rummaged around in my pockets for my keys until I realized I had them in my hand as I was using the pocket torch I made to turn around when I felt an ice-cold hand grip the back of my neck. I swung my arm around violently, elbow first, hoping to connect hard with whoever had grabbed me. I didn't connect, so I swung my arms around, hoping to land any sort of blow, just enough for me to create some space and get out. I swung and kicked, but hit nothing. There was no one there. I shook my head and repeated the same breathing exercises as I had performed in front of the painting downstairs before walking over to the door. I need to leave now. And I do mean now. Don't leave me, Annie. My fingers froze around the door handle as if it was covered in super glue. Please don't leave me, Annie. Stay here and play with me. I shone the torch up to where I heard the voice. I tried to scream. I had to scream. If I didn't scream, my head was going to explode. My mother was sat up in her bed, clutching her childhood doll. Don't go out there. If you go out there, you'll die. I don't want you to die, Annie. I want you to stay here with me forever. The scream finally left me. It left me with more force than anything I have ever felt in my life. The whole room seemed to shake. I screamed until every last breath had left my lungs. Then I threw open the door so hard it almost came off. Its hinges. I sprinted down the stairs, jumping down the last 4. I reached the front door. I hadn't locked it when I'd came in, so I twisted the large brass handle and pulled. I couldn't use my weight to push it open this time, so I opened it as far as I could, then squeezed my fingers into the opening so I could have a better grip on the door to pull. I heard the laughter again. It was getting louder, which meant it was getting closer. "Annie, don't be silly. You'll die out there. Stay with me." I pulled and pulled. I eventually put my foot in the gap and pushed the door back with my heel. Once there was enough space, I squeezed through, then sprinted over to my car, swinging the door open, then diving in. I turned the key once, twice. On the 3rd time it worked. I put it into gear, ripped the handbrake down, span around, and drove straight through the closed gate. The casualty has been identified as Annie Jones after her car skidded off a country road and collided head-on with a tree. The incident is made even more tragic, as she had been driving back home after visiting her late grandmother's house to deal with her estate due to the tragic deaths of her mother and father the previous year. Our thoughts go out to her close friends and family at the unfortunate time. Quest in time. Where is Julienne? It is a question that has haunted my mother, father, and myself. It was 3 years ago when my life changed forever. My sister, Julienne, disappeared coming home from Red Oak Park, a county recreation site about 20 miles west of Jonesburg, a small town south of Cleveland, Mississippi. The park had a pond with access to Lake Colbert and the Mississippi River. Lots of trees and hiking trails, campgrounds, and a couple of boat docks. My sister and her boyfriend had gone to the park to celebrate the Thanksgiving holiday. The two had gotten into an argument. She had gotten mad, told him to find his own way home, and had gotten in her car and left. First of all, you might be wondering why my sister was driving. That had a lot to do with the argument they had got into. Her boyfriend, Steve Simich, was currently a stocker in a grocery store, did not have a car, at least not one that worked, was trying to finish college, although not very successfully, and didn't seem too worried about whatever was ahead. My sister, on the other hand, Julienne Harden, had finished college, worked a full-time job, and was preparing for a life with a house, a family, and a future. Although there was no doubt she loved him, I believe that, looking back, she was beginning to doubt how much he loved her. His unwillingness or inability to move forward in a responsible manner was a red flag she couldn't ignore. So, that being the case, according to Steve's account, she blew her stack fussed at him, and jumped in the car, speeding off down the road. She was never seen again. The police were called when she didn't make it home that night. Steve was interviewed, but the fact that he had to call a friend to pick him up at the park, something that was verified by the police, seemed to clear him of any part in my sister's disappearance. We called on friends and family, searched the roads between our house and the park, but found no sign of her or her car. 3 days later, her car was found in a church parking lot. There was no video or security camera, so no evidence of who left it there. No matter how we searched or the police investigated, no evidence of her has been found since. I was 17, a freshman at Hobart University when this happened. She was 22, a graduate from the same college, and just starting her life. Although my questions started then, my quest didn't begin until my senior year, when I was finishing up a degree in criminal justice. My last semester at college, I had a chance to get an internship with the county sheriff's office, and I worked to get located at the same precinct that had investigated my sister's case. I did not mention my sister because I was afraid that they might see my placement there as some kind of conflict of interest. Luckily, it had been long enough since my sister disappeared that the detective assigned to the case, Jonathan Lucker, seemed not to recognize me or remember my name. I kept a low profile, determined not to be found out. I started in late January, with responsibilities to be assigned on a daily basis. My boss was Sergeant Holcroft, a middle-aged black woman who talked with a hard-nosed tone, but showed empathy and caring if you looked deep enough. In between cleaning interview rooms, filing personnel records, and filling out supply forms, I perused the computer, which I now had at least limited access to, and prowled the evidence locker to see what I could find out about my sister. Unfortunately, I could find very little that I didn't already know. She had left the park about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, according to her boyfriend's testimony, and started home. That was the last time she was seen. Being a long stretch of mostly rural highway, they could find no witnesses that saw her on the road, nor could they find anything that showed how the car ended up at the church parking lot. There weren't any fingerprints, DNA, blood, or any other clues in the car. And I was now determined to find out what happened to her. The only thing they found in her car was a plastic fork, not used, lying on the floorboard. Her purse and coat were in the back seat, as if they had been moved out of the way. Did that mean someone had joined her in the car? No one knew. I pored through the files on the computer and in the records themselves, looking at every note, form, report from other agencies that had been gathered until I could name, and paragraph where a certain fact could be found. "What are you looking at?" A voice suddenly interrupted me. As I pored over papers on the back row desk that I had taken over, I was so concentrating on understanding everything that I could about my sister's case, I didn't notice the approach of Detective Lucker. This might not be good, I thought. Sorry. I sat back in my seat. I thought I would familiarize myself with some processes used to investigate cases, including your sister's case, I see, he said. Detective Lucker was short, slightly bald-headed, with a thin gray mustache, thick fingers, and eyes that looked straight through you. I sat back even more, surprised that he knew who I was. I had been counting on a non-existent anonymity, it seems like. He smiled. Yes, I remember you. I don't forget cases that haven't been solved, nor the people involved in them. I also don't have any problem with you researching the case. However, that may not be true of everyone in the office. There are 2 caveats, he continued. One is that you don't do anything that would jeopardize the case. You don't contact anyone. You don't mess with the evidence. You don't talk to anyone else in the office. If you have questions, you come to me. Secondly, if you come up with any facts, theories, or other information related to your sister's disappearance, you come directly to me immediately. Do you understand? I nodded enthusiastically. From having to sneak around, watching my back, to being given permission to research all I wanted to, discreetly, of course, was more than I could hope for. Yes, sir, I answered quickly. Anything that you have to tell me? He followed up with the to-be-expected question. No, sir. I shook my head. Nothing yet, he pointed at me. If you do find anything, let me know immediately. I will give you some hints, he continued. The boyfriend was investigated thoroughly. He had no motive, and we were able to confirm that he was at the park until he was picked up by a friend about 4:30. We could also not find any other friends or acquaintances who had motive or opportunity. She was traveling home, alone. You will see all this on the report. Her phone stopped sending signals not long after it left the park. Whether she turned it off or the battery died, we don't know. From what Steve told the family after it happened, I interrupted. He tried to call her many times after she left. Knowing my sister, she probably turned her phone off so as to not be bothered by his frantic messaging. The detective nodded. That sounds reasonable. Again, let me know if you find anything, he said, and walked away. I took that as a command not to be trifled with, but I didn't care. Anything I found out would have been on his desk the next day anyway. So, in that regard, nothing had changed. Except now, I had permission. I didn't have to feel guilty about doing my behind-the-scenes snooping, and better yet, my quest to find out what happened to my sister was on full throttle. I am sure there are cliches that I haven't used yet, but stay tuned. I spent the next several days in between doing the job that I was actually hired to do, going through the folders that I had found in the evidence files. The police had very little to go on. They didn't know when or where she disappeared, except it was somewhere between the park and the town, 20 miles away. They looked at security cameras along the main road, but although they saw similar makes and models, were not able to positively identify my sister's car. One note said that a similar type of vehicle was shown passing by a gas station, but did not show up in any other images between there and town. Again, did that have anything to do with my sister? Was it someone else who turned off to go home, visit someone, or head down a more rural road where only farms existed with no cameras or security images? I continued my research over the next several weeks, heading toward the time when my internship was fast running out. When the college semester ended, so did my internship. Luckily, the officer I worked for basically let me do my own thing and didn't assign me too many additional responsibilities that would make my research even more difficult. I wondered if Detective Lucker had said something to her, but I was afraid to ask. More and more, I became frustrated because there was so little to go on, and I came to appreciate how difficult the initial investigation had been. I feared that my question would remain unanswered until suddenly my duties as an intern helped me find the clue that I had been looking for. I was cleaning up folders from the conference room to be refiled after a meeting when I happened to look at the heading on one file: Sarah Jane Fuller, missing person. The tab on the folder read. Curious, I closed the conference room door, sat down, and opened it up. There were the usual reports and a picture of the missing girl. Attractive white girl with brown hair and a thin, pointed chin. Her eyes seemed to stare at me. I quickly placed it on the table and read the basic details. She had disappeared the year after my sister and was driving from eastern Tennessee through Mississippi, heading to New Orleans. Although there were interstate highways that provided fast and safe passages, for some reason, she was driving along the Mississippi River, taking back roads and rural highways. Her family said that she loved the river and visited it as often as she could, no matter what state she was in. So there was a possibility that she had driven that way for the scenery. Her phone had stopped pinging on Highway 17, just east of Rosewood, a town not far from the river. To me, the interesting part was that my sister Julianne would have taken the same route, at least part of the way. Like my sister, her car was later found in a deserted parking lot. Again, like my sister, there were no security cameras that picked up any footage of her car, or anything else. Were there any other missing people in the last 5 or so years? I found another candidate, this one an older man, Timothy Mitchell, was last seen at a friend's house on Takeoff Ard in June 2022. Takeoff Road ran south and north of Highway 17. This occurred last year, again in the Thanksgiving or Christmas time frame. Another coincidence? His truck had never been found. I kept looking, but found no other missing persons in that geographic area, at least in the last 5 years. But why that area? It was probably as simple as the perpetrator lived close, but was there more to it? I researched every chance I got. When I wasn't doing my day job, or going to school, or anything else I was legitimately supposed to be doing. The end of my internship was approaching rapidly, and I was fast running out of time. In fact, tomorrow was going to be my last day. I kept looking at the files, searching for anything that might be related. Just as I was fixing to hang it up for the day, the year, and perhaps forever, I found the key. I knew now why the location mattered. Would that lead to the person or persons we were looking for? Would that lead me to Julianne? At noon the next day, I was sitting in my car outside of Josephine's Roadhouse, an old-fashioned restaurant located on Highway 17, halfway between the river and Jonesburg, hoping that the person I was waiting for would show up. I gave a big sigh of relief when a familiar car pulled into the parking lot and Detective Lucker stepped out. I had left an invitation on his desk before leaving the night before, since today I would be involved in out-processing, turning in paperwork, filling out forms, etc., and would probably have very little time to see him in person. The invitation was vague, but stressed that it was not a social event and might be very important to an answer that we both wanted. I met him in the parking lot, and we walked into the building. It was as old-fashioned inside as it was outside, with plaid tablecloths, white walls covered with old portraits, plaster statues on tables in each corner, and pictures of customers above each booth. We sat down and started looking at the menu. I was waiting for the detective to ask something, but he kept quiet, obviously content to leave it up to me. After we ordered, I looked at him, hoping that I wasn't going to sound like an idiot or nutcase. "Thank you for meeting me on short notice," I started off with. He nodded, but didn't reply. "I was researching, as you are aware, and I found some interesting coincidences," I said. "What coincidences?" he asked, already looking intrigued. I told him about the missing people besides Julianne, and stressed that this was only based on an initial search, and there might be more. "What makes you think they are related?" he asked. "The location was the first thing that came to mind," I replied. They were all thought to be either on Highway 17 or approaching or leaving the highway. Also, the time of year. All disappearances occurred in the November or December time frame. "I am assuming you found out what was so special about Highway 17, he asked. I nodded. "I believe I did. That is why I asked you to meet me here today, I said, taking a deep breath. Almost a year before my sister went missing, a wreck occurred on Highway 17. In that wreck, Joanne McKenzie, a 54-year-old mother of two, was killed. She supposedly lost control and hit a tree head-on. The car was old, and the airbag failed to deploy. Supposedly, the detective asked, as I had expected him to. The son, Timothy McKenzie, who was 21 years old at the time, did not agree with the police report. He kept saying to anyone who would listen that it was no accident, that his mother was murdered, and that the police were negligent. He complained to the news, to the city and county authorities, and even to the state. I found records online of letters he wrote to websites and news outlets all the way up until October of the next year. October? The deputy asked, his voice suddenly sounding very curious. I nodded. The last thing I saw was about a month before my sister's disappearance. Maybe he just gave up and stopped fighting a lost cause. Maybe, I agreed. Except he also reached out after my sister's disappearance, as well as the other disappearances, by writing letters or posts about how unsafe our state highways were. You think that he is involved in these disappearances in some way? I do. These disappearances emphasize how unsafe the roads are, and that there are people out there who could be responsible for his mother's death. By causing these people to disappear, he is getting his vengeance on the entire state. But wouldn't these actions result in increased police presence, in making it harder for him to commit future crimes? Maybe, I answered. But it hasn't happened yet. The other thing, as I mentioned, was the time frame. These 3 disappearances occurred within a month or so of the date that his mother was killed. And McKenzie and his family have a farm off Highway 17. We have time, location, motive. The detective thought for a minute. Even if this unlikely story is true, we have no evidence to tie him to any crime. One other thing. I leaned forward. His mother is buried on a private cemetery on the McKenzie property. Where is a better place to hide bodies than in a cemetery, especially a private one? And, I continued, even a private cemetery has to be licensed by the county and is subject to health and welfare inspections. I leaned back. My case was made. Now it was up to the detective. He thought for a minute. Okay, was all he said before getting up to go. I will take care of it. Any reason that we met here? He asked his last question. Yes, I said. The McKenzie family owns this restaurant. I waited and watched him leave. I had no doubt that he would find a way onto the property. And, unfortunately, I also had no doubt that he would find the missing people, and that my question would finally be answered. Where was Julienne? I was fixing to find out, like a thief in the night. I'm here. The key is under the welcome mat. The alarm is off, and Reuben is at the kennel. Should be no issue getting inside. Neighbors? Out of town. What time does John arrive home? He's working late, then going to the gym. You have time. For your sake, you best be right. I'm not looking to go back in the pen for some petty crime bullshit. Just get the file off the computer. Easy, easy. Then why haven't you done it yourself? You know why? Yeah, we know. Are you in yet? Yes. The office is down the hall and to the left. Don't turn on the lights. I'm not a fucking amateur. Shit. What is it? What happened? Nothing. Just some asshole left boots lying in the middle of the hallway. John isn't the best housekeeper. Really, you don't? He keeps his other laptop in the third drawer. Got a problem. What? It's locked. Got a key? No, but he's not that creative. Look around the desk. It's gotta be around somewhere. Gum wrappers, crumpled Post-its, pile of receipts. This guy is a hoarder. I know, but he's the only way in. Yeah, so you've said. Listen, the boss doesn't take kindly to liars. No lies. This is legit. Your funeral. You're a funny guy. You know that? Now shut up and find the key. I said you had time, but let's not chance it. Seems to me I'm taking all the chances. Once you find what we need, I'll give credit where credit is due. Think I found something? Is it the key? Does it work? Got it. But we have another problem. What problem? Just open the laptop and find the file listed as hobby. There is no laptop. Drawer is empty. Shit. He must have it. Why on earth would he take that shit to work with him? Think he's on to you? Nah, I'm the least of his worries. Better think of another way. Boss isn't a patient guy. I know. Just give me a minute to think. Shit. This was the best way. We don't have a minute. We got company. No, can't be John. He's still at work. Sure about that? Positive? His tracker says he's sitting at his shitty cubicle as we speak. We're good. False alarm. Just some idiot lost and used the driveway to turn around. Fuck, man. You had me worried. Look, here's what you're going to do. First, need you to lock the door, then break a window. I'll arm the alarm. He'll get the call and come home. Wait him out. When you seize the opportunity, get the laptop. I could just kill him. No, you can't just kill him. What are you talking about? Just stick to the plan. Hide, get the laptop, find the file, and get out. Never good at hiding, but I'll see what I can do. The door is locked, ready for the broken window. Say when. When? Ooh, hell. What happened? Cut my fucking hand. You wearing gloves? Can't just be leaving blood all over the place. That's how people get caught, asshole. I'm not an amateur. Of course, I have gloves on. Been doing this longer than you've been alive, you snot-nosed yuppie. Just keep your trap shut. Shit, the alarm didn't go off. What a damn surprise. Another problem. Just a sec. I need to shut off the power and reset it. Stop fucking telling me and just do it. All right. Get ready to cover your ears. 3, 2, 1. Aw, fuck, that's loud. Hide, hide, hide. Turn that shit off. I can't. John needs to be notified. Hurry up! I'm going fucking deaf here. Hold on. You hold on, you asshole. Alarm is blaring through my fucking eardrums. When I get a hold of you, no one will recognize you. I'm going to take my fucking time. My knife will dull and need sharpening between breaks. All right, John is on the move. Shut it off. The company will in 3, 2, 1. I'm going to kill you. Don't forget to hide. I'm in the closet already. Ran in here after the alarm went off. John is en route. Fantastic. So, boss is calling. Going to join him on the call. Boys, we have the file yet? Not yet, boss. What's the holdup? This entire operation is a total fuck-up. This yuppie has us chasing our tails. He's a fucking liar. I'm not lying. The file exists. How was I to know he would bring the laptop with him? He's been your mark for months. Gentlemen, enough. I want that file. Yuppie and my guy is the best. No one better to lift sensitive material than him. Guide him best you can and let him do his job. Yes, sir. Yes, boss. Good. Talk to you boys soon. You are such an asshole, yuppie. Me? You're the one trying to get me killed? Oh, I'm not trying. I'm going to kill you. You'll forget all about maiming me when you get that file. Not maim, kill. As in murder. Yeah? Well, that will have to wait, because John has arrived. I'll just kill him. No, just be patient. He's in the house. Remember the plan. Wait him out. Once you see an opportunity, take it. We can't leave here without the file. I don't know how I ever got tied up in this. I mean, you get a little behind in your bets, and the next thing you know, you're babysitting some asswipe for the boss and breaching intel. The file is there. I know it is. He just went in the bathroom, and the shower is kicked on. I'm taking my shot. Don't kill him. Wait. Shit. I'm a dead man if we don't get that file. I have a sure thing in play, about to make a huge payoff. This can't be the end for me. Got the laptop. Looking for the file now. It's named Hobby. Go it. Transferring. 30%, 50%, 75%, 90%, 100%. We got it in the clear, yuppie. Oh, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Don't thank me. I'm still leaning towards killing you. More importantly, I need to get this file to the boss, who will be pleased to own hard evidence against this freak. Good job, yuppie. You may just live after all. I suggest you no longer take bets. Hell, get out of the game altogether, or else the boss may find more work for you. And if you don't deliver next time, I'll see you at the funeral. Goodbye, for now. Wait, don't hang up. Aw, yuppie. Gonna miss me? Don't sweat it, kid. What was that? Sounded like a gunshot. Did you shoot him? What's going on? Talk to me. Hello, Charlie. Hello, John.